Good morning. Happy Monday. Yay. We are getting to be about halfway through December, and I have so much to share with you from about this transformational month, about some amazing changes that are going on that will impact you for the better. Yes, we're going to bring some of the summit back. Yeah. I'm in the process of figuring out exactly how that's going to look, but my intention is that in January, we are going to start having at least a weekly summit, at least a weekly interview of people for you who are inspirational, just as the summit was. Because for those of you who didn't see it, last summer I had 28 people on. We had so many remarkable individuals, just amazing people, just of all different backgrounds and nationalities and points of view. And it was just my absolute dream, because I am so absolutely passionate about demonstrating that there are so many different points of view, so many different aspects of our person, of our international identities. We say a lot in spiritual speak that we are all one, but we don't have a whole lot of example of that we seek out, because we have very busy lives, because we are trying to survive, because there's a million reasons. And so it is my absolute delight to break barriers, to break down consciousness barriers. I did it, and I have continued to do it since I started on antidepressants when I had a breakdown in my early 30s. And I've done it about having gone homeless when I was 56. I love to break barriers, because like Audre Lorde, who you're going to meet today, I really feel that if one person is oppressed, we are all oppressed, because we truly are all one in a very practical way. There is, and that practical way is that the minute we have somebody oppressed, it means that we have a system that is allowing this to happen. Now, it's interesting. As I say that, I can't imagine, well, I can imagine it completely breaking out of a system, making a system completely gone so that we can be in an organic living system. And yet that is what's being done in certain arenas of life right now, business being one of them. In any case, I've gone too far afield here. What I want to say is that Audre Lorde is fascinating. She will, I'm bringing her back. I'm not bringing her back. You've never met her before. I am bringing this into my Monday liftoffs. I'm bringing fascinating, inspiring, courageous women and men into the Monday liftoff, so that we can have an example. We can have many examples of the different kinds of people who have shown us what the different faces of courage are. Okay. And in January, I want to start having at least weekly free, interviews live. Okay. I will at some point, bind them together and sell them at a very affordable price for you to keep if you are feeling like you want to keep them, and use them for inspiration, which is a really smart thing to do. But first, I want to share with you some things. Of course, at first, it's going to be December. First, it's December. And so I want to share my screen with you, if I can figure out how to do that here. Hello. Yes, there it is. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. And what I'm going to do is we're going to play a bit of Audre Lorde. Geez, I just realized we're not on Zoom, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. Ooh, so I don't want to waste your time. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to, well, I'll play it because I've got the words at the bottom, I've got the translation thing on, but I got to warn you that it is not very great. You're going to have to sort of read a little bit between the lines. So let me play some of this, and you will understand how remarkable Audre is. And I also want to tell you just a little bit about her life, but let's start here.
Beautiful Christmas by Audre Lorde. I was born Black and a woman. I am trying to become the strongest person I can become, to live the life I have been given, and to help effect change toward a livable future for this earth and for my children. As a Black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, poet, mother of two, including one boy and member of an interracial couple, I usually find myself part of some group in which the majority defines me as deviant, difficult, inferior, or just plain wrong. From my membership in all of these groups, I have learned that oppression and the intolerance of difference come in all shapes and sizes and colors and sexualities, and that among those of us who share the goals of liberation and a workable future for our children, there can be no hierarchies of oppression. I have learned that sexism, a belief in the inherent superiority of one sex over all others and thereby its right to dominance, and heterosexism, a belief in the inherent superiority of one pattern of loving over all others and thereby its right to dominance, both arise from the same source as racism, a belief in the inherent superiority of one race over all others and thereby its right to dominance. Oh, says a voice from the Black community, but being Black is normal. Well, I and many Black people of my age can remember grimly the days when it didn't used to be. I simply do not believe that one aspect of myself can possibly profit from the oppression of another part of my identity. I know that my people cannot possibly profit from the oppression of any other group which seeks the right to peaceful existence. Rather, we diminish ourselves by denying to others what we have shed blood to obtain for our children. And those children need to learn that they do not have to become like each other in order to work together for a future they will all share. The increasing attacks upon lesbians and gay men are only an introduction to the increasing attacks upon all Black people. For wherever oppression manifests itself in this country, Black people are potential victims. And it is a standard of right-wing cynicism to encourage members of oppressed groups to act against each other. And so long as we are divided because of our particular identities, we cannot join together in effective political action. Within the lesbian community, I am Black, and within the Black community, I am a lesbian. Any attack against Black people is a lesbian and gay issue, because I and thousands of other Black women are part of the lesbian community. Any attack against lesbians and gays is a Black issue, because thousands of lesbians and gay men are Black. There is no hierarchy of oppression. It is not accidental that the Family Protection Act, which is virulently anti-woman and anti-Black, is also anti-gay. As a Black person, I know who my enemies are. And when the Ku Klux Klan goes to court in Detroit to try and force the Board of Education to remove books the Klan believes hint at homosexuality, then I know I cannot afford the luxury of fighting one form of oppression only. I cannot afford to believe that freedom from intolerance is the right of only one particular group, and I cannot afford to choose between the fronts upon which I must battle these forces of discrimination wherever they appear to destroy me. And when they appear to destroy me, it will not be long before they appear to destroy you.
And that is Audre Lorde. Remarkable woman, amazing poet. Let me read to you. Let me read you something about her life, okay? Because this is important stuff. I mean, first of all, Audre was born in 1934. She was a woman ahead of her time in her self-confidence, way ahead of her time in her self-confidence, given that she was born in America as a Black woman. First and foremost, anybody meeting her, oh, she's Black. In 34, there was no equality. And you can say there's no equality now. I say there's no equality for women because that, of all colors. She's remarkable. She's remarkable. I love meeting women like her. Okay, so as I put in the description, she was a self-described Black, lesbian, mother, warrior, poet who dedicated both her life and her creative talent to confronting and addressing injustices of racism, sexism, classism, heterosexism, and homophobia. As a poet, she's best known for technical mastery and emotional expression, as well as her poems that express anger and outrage at civil and social injustices she observed throughout her life. Her poems and prose largely deal with issues related to civil rights, feminism, lesbianism, illness and disability, and the exploration of Black female identity. That's remarkable. She was born to Caribbean immigrants. And let me read you this. This is very fascinating. Lorde's mother was of mixed ancestry, but could pass for Spanish, which was a source of pride for her family, interestingly. Lorde's father was darker than the Belmar family liked, and they only allowed the couple to marry because of Byron Lorde's charm, ambition, and perseverance. Now, Audre was nearsighted to the point of being legally blind, and she was the youngest of 3 daughters. She grew up hearing her mother's stories about the West Indies, and at the age of 4, she learned to talk while she learned to read. She was inspired to start talking. She would not talk. She was inspired to read by something that she was reading. I mean, she was inspired to talk by what she was reading. That's very, very interesting. She wrote her first poem when she was in the 8th grade. And when she was a little girl, wow, she dropped the Y in Audre. She dropped the Y off the end of Audre because she was more interested in the artistic symmetry of the 2 E endings of her first and last names than in spelling her name the way her parents had intended. She spent very, very little time with her father and mother. They were in real estate. They were all going through the Great Depression, and her parents were busy constantly. And when they were home, according to this particular writing, they were very distant. So she spent a lot of time with her inner world. She spent a lot of time getting to know all the different parts of her and expressing her emotions in this way. As a child, Lorde struggled with communication and came to appreciate the power of poetry as a form of expression. In fact, she describes herself as thinking in poetry. She also memorized a great deal of poetry and would use it to communicate, to the extent that if asked how she was feeling, Audre would reply by reciting a poem. Around the age of 12, she began writing her own poetry regularly and connecting with others at her school who were considered outcasts, as she felt she was. Now, when she was in school, when she was at Hunter College High School, a secondary school for intellectually gifted students, she published her first poem, but that was because in 17 magazine. That's extraordinary too, extraordinary. On so many levels, extraordinary. She had tried to publish a poem about love, just about love, in her school newspaper. And she was told, no, that's a bad poem. She said, but I knew it was a good poem. So she sent it to 17 magazine, and off of that one poem, that one sale, she said, she made more money than she made in 10 years. Extraordinary. Let me find all of the things that she started. She was a writer in residence at Tougaloo College in Mississippi. She was writing books and books and books of poems. She also from 1972 to 1987, resided on Staten Island, and during that period, co-founded Kitchen Table Women of Color Press. She became an associate of the Women's Institute for Freedom of the Press. From 1969 to 70, she taught in the education department at Lehman College, then as a professor of English at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, which was part of City University of New York. She fought for the creation of a Black Studies department. Yes. And then she went on to teach at her alma mater, Hunter College. Let's see. She went around the world starting things. She, in fact, in Berlin, she became a really influential part of the then nascent Afro-German movement. So together with a group of Black women activists in Berlin, Audre Lorde coined the term Afro-German in 1984, and consequently gave rise to the Black movement in Germany. She became a mentor to many known German Black women. And instead of fighting systemic issues through violence, Lorde thought that language was a powerful form of resistance and encouraged the women of Germany to speak up instead of fight back. Her impact on Germany reached more than just Afro-German women. Lorde helped increase awareness of intersectionality across racial and ethnic lines. She's had a 2012 documentary done. I've got to watch it. It's called Audre Lorde, The Berlin Years, 1984, 1992. Wow, she's just, the more you read about Audre, the more impressed you have to be with Audre. Her conception, okay, let me hold on, let me go back here a second. Lorde focused her discussion of difference not only on differences between groups of women, but between conflicting differences within the individual. She declared, "I am defined as other in every group I'm part of." Audre states that the outsider, both strength and weakness, yet without community there is certainly no liberation, no future, only the most vulnerable and temporary armistice between me and my oppression. She described herself both as a part of a continuum of women and a concert of voices within herself. Amazing. She's an amazing woman. She walked through times in history and times of her life where I am certain, because she was human, that she felt the same rage, the same mind-blowing lack of being able to understand how people can be so dismissive and so cruel and so thoughtless. And yet she also, I feel, probably understood it on some level, since probably a lot of levels, since she knew about all the disconnection of the different parts of ourselves, and how without that support that she speaks of, that I mentioned a moment ago, we cannot get away from our own oppression. That speaks to me so strongly. If you've read any of my writings, you know that I'm all about revealing, being very vulnerable, being very open about the struggle within the self, within myself, and about my journey of growth. The reason for that is because in my 30s, I went to a heck of a lot of workshops, and I watched the transformation that people went through when they opened themselves and became extremely vulnerable and said, "Hey, this is who I am," and really shared within the amazing company of others who were willing to do the same. There's nothing that can be done without community. we have to be held within our own selves by the people outside of our own selves, the people who see us and who love us and who don't love us but accept us and sit long enough to listen. And that's hard. It's harder actually today than it's ever been because we're all very frightened these days. And when you ingest fear, when you have fear in the mix, the first thing you want to do is protect yourself. And that's a very wise thing to do. But what we don't have, and what I want to contribute to fighting, is we don't have a big enough container. We don't have a big enough way of holding that it might be okay if somebody's this much different or this much different, for us to just listen, for us to just listen. And that is what I want to contribute to in the world. That is what I want to contribute to in my Courageous Confidence group. That is what I want to contribute to in all of the work that I do, in the many arenas that I touch. Because it is very, very important that we all do this work. There's a lot of courage out in the world. There's a lot out there. And there's a lot of perseverance out in the world. And I want to encourage you to continue to persevere as we move through what is arguably the toughest month of the year, and especially now that we're in a COVID year, it's presenting new challenges. You are not alone in your aloneness. A weird concept. But you're not alone in your aloneness. When I was very depressed in my 30s and 40s, I felt very alone most of the time. So when I say you're not alone in your aloneness, what I mean is I recognize that if you are feeling very alone, if you are in your apartment alone and you have not been able to find ways to really nurture and nourish yourself, and you haven't found ways to reach out enough, and you are really struggling, that there is a community somewhere that speaks to you. It might be the Courageous Confidence group. It might be another group. There are networking groups that are not just about work. They're about the people in them and about the personal struggles that we're all going through to create new lives now. And I encourage you to reach out to me if you want to talk about what it is you're looking for. I'll see if I can help you. I'll see if I can. I'm really the idea queen. So if you're looking for a way to connect, if you're looking for the kind of group that you're looking for, if you're not sure how to find the help that you're looking for, whether it's for community or it's for stuff that has to do with survival. If you're looking for how do you find the places, a food bank, how do you find help with your rent? How do you find help with with the struggles that you're going through, particularly in this month, which I have traditionally found very difficult myself, please reach out. We can have a private conversation. I can give you some ideas. And at the very least, if I don't come up with an idea for you, I will be giving you some support, okay? So I'll go and I'll put the link in where you can grab 15 minutes with me and we can talk, okay? And I do encourage you to go to YouTube and to check out Audre Lorde. Check out her videos. Check out the videos about her. She will inspire the heck out of you. And she really does frame for me all of the things I've been working on. She's a tremendous support for me as someone who is all about systemic change, whether that system is the systems within my own self or the systems in corporate America or the systems in this country, the systems of sexism, she's tremendously exciting. So I invite you to go check her out on YouTube. It's Audre Lorde. And remember that you too are inspirational to someone who then is inspirational to someone else. Have a beautiful week. I'll see you soon.